Good morning. This is Kathleen Smith, Chief Outreach Officer at ClearedJobs.Net. And today we're talking with Huntsville recruiters about how to prepare for our Huntsville virtual job fair, which is on June 3rd. So I'm going to each one of our recruiters introduce themselves and where they are working. Then I'm going to have each one of them tell us how long they've lived in Huntsville and what did they like most about living and working in Huntsville. So Allyson, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, so my name is Allyson Holmes, and I'm a sourcing specialist at COLSA Corporation in Huntsville. Um, I've lived in Madison, which is the neighboring area of Huntsville, my entire life. I've worked in Huntsville for the last year.
Great. Jamie?
I am Jamie Jones. I manage talent acquisition at Sentar. I've lived in Huntsville in the surrounding area my entire life. I love Huntsville. I love all the green space, being a country girl at heart. I love to go hiking on Green Mountain, which is just 10 minutes away. And then I can just take a quick jaunt over to Bridge Street and shop to my heart's delight. So Huntsville has a little bit of everything, and I love that.
Amy, tell us a little bit about you and why you love living and working in Huntsville.
So I'm born and raised in Huntsville for the most part. I've lived here roughly 28 years. I left for high school, college, and my first 6 years after college for my first job. But then I returned because I wanted to be close to family. So my favorite thing is that my family and my friends are really close by. So I spend a lot of time with them. And then again, I love to go hiking as well and just spend time outdoors. And I love that we're growing. And I feel like every single month there's something new coming to Huntsville. So that's been really fun to see. Yeah, that's it. Oh, and I work at SAIC. Where I work. I'm a senior technical recruiter at SAIC. And I focus on our NASA Federal Civ group right now, but I also help with Department of Defense work and did that for almost my first year of work with them.
Sounds great. Allyson, do you want to tell us what are some of your favorite things to do in Huntsville?
My favorite thing about Huntsville is that there are many new developments happening in Huntsville that makes it a wonderful growing community. We have the U.S. Space and Rocket Center, and we're really close to Nashville and Birmingham, which are two major cities.
Wonderful. So Amy, having grown up and spent a lot of time in Huntsville, are there any sort of professional networking groups that you're part of or that you see other professionals that are part of?
Yeah, so I'm a part of the Huntsville Young Professionals group, which I think is a standard for almost everybody to be a part of if you're in your, 20s and 30s, even 40s. So that's one that I do. And then we have a veterans group that I support whenever I can. I go to those events. Our company normally buys a table at them. And then I'm on a kickball team and I have a church family and I'm really into my church is very large. And so that's one way that I network with. I work with many, many managers that I support and they go to my church and I see them all the time. And it's just a fun community to be able to be like, hey, and see them at church on Sunday and then Monday be back in the office working for them. So that's some things that I love.
Jamie, what are some of the professional associations or networking groups that you're part of?
So I've been part of North Alabama Society for Human Resources Management for a little over 20 years. I started my career as a corporate recruiter and I have danced across the line of HR and recruiting my entire career. I love both aspects. And so that organization is very active and I always get amazing resources from them. Sentar is very involved in all of the cybersecurity organizations to include Cyber Huntsville, ISACA, all of those organizations were very involved, of course, as that is what we do to provide solutions in the converged cyber domain.
Wonderful. Allyson, so what do you do for networking? Do you, are there events you go to or are there any professional associations you're part of?
Yeah, so at COLSA, we're actually also a part of a veterans group that we work really close with. Our hiring managers and us go to a lot of cyber and career fairs and that kind of thing to learn more about what we need to do as recruiting. And I'm also a member of SourceCon, So we go to all of their events so that we can learn more about what candidates are looking for and what we need to hire for in our positions.
Sounds great. So one thing that we want to help the audience understand, because we run into this question frequently, is that job seekers don't understand the workload that happens for a recruiter or an HR manager. They only think that, well, they're only recruiting for my position. Why aren't they getting back to me? Why aren't they giving me information? And I think that typically a job seeker doesn't understand that there are many different people that you are supporting, and there are many different programs that you are supporting. So Allyson, I'm going to have you kick it off and sort of explain how many requisitions are you recruiting for at any one time, and how many hiring managers or program managers are you supporting?
So yeah, currently I'm a sourcing specialist. So I work with 3 recruiters and I have 10 hiring managers, and our job recs, vary, day to day. It always changes. But when it comes to the hiring manager, they have twice the work of the recruiter. So they're responsible for their day-to-day work, and also they're usually managers over other employees. So what happens is I send the manager your application, and this can take a little longer than I would like it to, but the main thing to remember is that they have a lot on their plate, and they're definitely keeping you in mind.
So Jamie, how about you? So how many people are you managing as far as candidates through the pipeline and hiring managers or recruiters you're supporting?
So each recruiter on my team can have, in a non-pandemic world, anywhere between 10 and 30 requisitions that they're recruiting for. And that might include current open funded positions as well as positions that we are anticipating. So the candidate is the most important part of that process, of course. And the recruiter oftentimes is, like you described, Allyson, working with that hiring manager who's managing the customer, their their employees, the candidate process. And so they are managing a lot, and the recruiter is working with that and providing gentle motivation to respond back to candidates that we submit over for positions. We are also very, for every position that we post, we probably have 20 to 40 candidates for each role. Of course, not everyone is perfectly qualified for that role, but we try to reach out and talk to everyone, because the candidate might not be perfect for this role, but they might be perfect for the next role. So it's a lot of requisitions that the recruiters are managing at once, and a lot of candidates that they're talking to all at the same time. So it can be a challenge to properly give every candidate the feedback and the information that they deserve, but we work really hard to do that.
Amy, what about you? You're managing a variety of different programs, and I'm sure that you have a lot of balls in the air. What would be some of your recommendations to job seekers?
Yeah, I have anywhere from 25 to 30 recs at a time. I manage 3 NASA programs by myself. So I can have anywhere from 20 to 50 applicants from within 1 week of opening a job rec. So if you multiply that by 20 positions, even going on my low amount, I mean, that could be 600 candidates plus in a matter of a week to review. And then if I have a low candidate pool with unqualified candidates, I then have to go do email blasts, and I can have anywhere from 20 to 70 responses in a matter of minutes from sending out the blast. And everyone's expecting me to respond immediately, and I'm one person. So it's just a lot to handle. I have 22 managers, each of them supporting their own sub projects within the program. So it can be a lot. I say the best thing is just be patient, understand that we are doing our best to get back to everybody. I make it my personal, I really try to look at every single resume of every single applicant, because like Jamie said, you might not be a fit for this one. You might have applied for my senior role and not know that I have an associate one coming open. So I'm always looking, just because everyone can be an asset to me. on top of just regular rec maintenance is what I kind of refer to all that as. We're also doing bamboo virtual events monthly. I'm doing 2 next week alone. And then we also are doing email blasts proactively, going to career fairs, and then we have all of those people to follow up with as well. So the amount of emails that I get in just one single day would blow some people's minds. And I do truly respond to every single one of them. And, you know, sometimes that means working late for me. Sometimes that means just not being able to respond that day to you, but I will get back to everybody.
Yes, that's what I've heard from each one of the recruiters that I've worked with, that they really want to get back to every single candidate, and they work their best to do that. And sometimes I'll get emails from recruiter customers, and, you know, it's 11 o'clock, midnight. So I really appreciate all the efforts that all of you put in there. So Jamie, I'm going to have you kick off our next session. And what it is we'd like to really make sure that job seekers understand that there may be some sort of areas that they need to focus on, that you're sort of not seeing, you know, the best efforts before. So what are some of the job search problems that you see job seekers do? And especially now during the pandemic, are there some things they really should be focusing on?
So I would encourage job candidates to not be afraid to reach out to that recruiter. Like Amy had mentioned, every recruiter is probably dealing with, you know, up to 100 candidates per week. And so it's really important to not be afraid to reach out to that recruiter for follow-up, because chances are they'll appreciate it. They probably have an update, but they're working through a list of things to do. So don't be afraid to reach out. And kind of like large companies, when they're doing their marketing, their elevator pitches, they reach out to you multiple times and in different venues. So they might connect on LinkedIn, and then you might get a phone call, but it's very quick and warm and to the point, but it works because it keeps it top of mind. So I would encourage candidates to do that. I likewise would encourage candidates to be very upfront about their process, about where they're at in their process, as well as salary expectations, job expectations, location expectations. Really tell us what you want, because chances are we've got a role either today or tomorrow that's going to fit all of those expectations that you have. And so don't be coy about it. Just let us know what you really want and what you're looking for. Because when we make a job change, we want that to be a good thing, right? We want it to be something that's in a better situation that we might have currently. So lay it all out there. Let your recruiter know, and then they'll be honest with you about what they have and what they anticipate.
Sounds great. Amy, is there anything you might want to share as far as resumes, or, you know, because I'm sure you're seeing hundreds of them. Is there some common mistake that you're seeing job seekers making?
I don't know if this is just me or not, but we have a lot of systems where we view your resumes in. And so when you put your personal information in the header or footer or in some weird side column, it does not pull in the system for us. So I have to download your resume to my computer to even be able to see the main thing that I need to see, your contact info to call you. So I would discourage using headers and footers. I would say just remove the headers and footers and put your information at the top like you would anyway. They're kind of useless in formatting, and so you can do everything outside of a header that you could with it. So that's just one small tidbit for me, but all of the tools that we use to review resumes quickly won't show me that. So that would help just from a standpoint of that. The second thing would be, if a recruiter asks for your resume, just send it. If you are job searching, you should have it ready, update, and ready to go. I can't tell you how many times I'm sitting here waiting for, maybe it's because it didn't load correctly, or you're still updating it, or, you know, various other things that I get. I also really do not like when someone tells me to go to their LinkedIn and find their information on there. I, like we mentioned, have so much on my plate that going to each candidate's LinkedIn page to see their information would take me extremely large amounts of time. And that's not even including the regular LinkedIn maintenance that we have from all the requests of people seeing us on webinars or meeting us at career fairs that we tell to, and, you know, add us on LinkedIn. So we have lots of LinkedIn maintenance that we need to do when we go to LinkedIn anyway, or we're advertising for jobs on there. I personally don't go to LinkedIn to recruit. We don't have LinkedIn Recruiter here, so I don't use LinkedIn as a tool there. If people send me their information, I'll go there and move them into our system the way we normally do it. But I try to keep everyone in the same process. So I would just say, share your resume, have it ready. That should not be a large task to ask to send a resume. So have it ready.
Some of your recommendations there as far as keeping the resume simple. I know there has been one trend that I've seen a lot, specifically with technical resumes, where they put a graph or a table in the middle of the resume, and they don't understand that that table or that graph is going to throw off all of the scanning that's going to happen with the resume, and it's not going to end up in any shape or form. So please, if you have a list of languages and certifications, list them out. Don't make some fancy graph or table to put them in.
Yeah, I was just going to add, you brought up a good point, especially on tech resumes. You'll get someone that will list every single skill they've ever touched. And if we're being realistic, I could list every single thing I've ever touched at a job, but that doesn't mean I'm proficient in it. It doesn't mean that I want to do it. And it doesn't mean that I, truth be told, could walk in the door day one ready to do that skill set. So you really should narrow it down to what you truly excel at or enjoy doing, because that's what's really going to land you the job. Because when we put you in a technical interview, and you said that you can do Python on your resume, and then they start to dig deeper with your technical lead and managers, and you can't answer those questions, it's a waste of everybody's time. So really just focus on what you excel at and like to do.
Those are really great suggestions. Allyson, is there any other thing that you've sort of been noticing, maybe email etiquette or other things on resumes that you've been noticing that job seekers might, mistakes they might not want to be doing or something they might want to improve on?
Yeah, so especially when it comes to resumes, in my opinion, I look at hundreds of resumes a week. That's, pretty much my job. But when it comes to a resume, I like to see a well-organized resume that encompasses all the experience that is relevant to the job that the candidate's applying for, even if that does go past 2 pages. Especially when we're doing our searches, we're looking for those keywords in your resume. So the more that you have in there and the more that qualifies you for the job will be the best.
Sounds great. I still find a lot of job seekers who put everything in a resume. They want one size fits all, and then they just keep sending it. And what we keep telling everyone is customize your resume to what the job is that you're going to be applying for. So let's move into getting ready for the June 3rd job fair. So Amy, I'm going to have you kick off and let us know, what are some of the ways that you have seen job seekers prepare for a virtual job fair?
I think the first thing you need to do is actually go to the website and review all of the openings that they have. So you need to kind of come prepared and know these are the jobs that I'm qualified for and these are the jobs that I'm interested in. Additionally, know your salary range. We've stressed that multiple times in a few different webinars now, but playing the negotiable game is just a waste of everybody's time. At the end of the day, we all have a number in mind. Either it's our current salary and we want that or higher, or maybe we're shooting for the stars here and we really want a 15% increase. Whatever it is, you need to have that number in mind, because it is going to rule you in or out for jobs, and that's okay. If you're not going to accept a job that's $70,000, you don't need to be in the negotiable bucket there, because it's a waste of your time. And we value your time just like we value our time, and especially like we value our manager's time. And we really don't need to do that. So I think it's 100% okay to know what you're worth and know what you're aiming for, and have that salary discussion ready to go.
Jamie, any other best practices to prepare for a virtual job fair?
So all of the things you would do for an in-person job fair, you should be doing for that virtual job fair. As Amy mentioned, know your salary range that you're interested in, know the jobs that are available and what you are interested in. Also, check your technology. Be sure that you have good Wi-Fi range, and you've got a place where you don't have a lot of interruptions. That might mean closing the door. I personally have 3 children right now who are homeschooling. It can be interesting, right? So I have my door closed and shut and locked, frankly. But that's important. I mean, of course, that's not going to rule you out for a role, but what it is going to do is distract you from presenting your best self. And that's the important part.
So Allyson, what other things should a job seeker do to prepare for a virtual job fair?
Like Jamie was saying, everything that you do for in-person job fair, I think you definitely should be doing, maybe even more for a virtual one. Definitely know what you're looking for in a next career move, and make sure that you have your elevator pitch ready, because that's one of the first things that makes you stand out as a candidate.
Great. So now we've covered the mistakes, we've covered how to prepare. Jamie, do you want to tell us some of the things that you've seen that have been best practices for participating in a job fair?
So of course, being professionally ready to go in terms of having your resumes in front of you so that you can discuss them, having your best foot forward, also having done a little bit of research for the companies that are attending that job fair, knowing the kinds of things they're looking for. Of course, you're not going to be a subject matter expert on each company, but having a familiarization with those organizations is important. It displays your interest. And a lot of times with hiring managers, they're looking for the right skills, of course, and the right personality assessment, but they're also looking for someone who is truly interested in the work because they have a mission for their customer that they need to do. They're protecting the workfighters' data, they're protecting veterans' data. And so if you're truly interested in that, it's going to shine through.
Allyson, what are some of the best practices you've seen job seekers do in participating in a job fair?
Right. So it's best when candidates are prepared with preliminary interest with specific positions or areas of interest. And I think it's really important for candidates to know the culture of the company, you know, coming in, because that's really important, especially at COLSA.
Sounds good. Amy, since you seem to be doing so many virtual events, what are some of the best practices you would recommend our job seekers do at the June 3rd job fair?
Yeah, so if you're in a chat setting like Brazen, I would say the first thing is make sure that you get each other's contact information. And just in case you have any internet issues or anything like that, you have a lifeline to a recruiter to reach out to. Also, please be patient with them, as you are not the only person they are speaking to during that Brazen event. Most recruiters can get through 16 to 25 people if they're using the full 15 minutes to speak to you. So just be patient, because we've got to follow up with every single person. And I personally phone screen every single candidate that I speak to at a virtual career fair. And then be patient with the job process. I had someone that came to our March 12th job fair who just got hired this week. And so sometimes it's just that matter of finding the right fit job in the right location. I found her doing a Huntsville event. She's in Houston. I actually run a Houston program. I got her hired in Houston. I also had someone come to our April event that got hired in April. So just be patient.
And what's interesting is one of the things that we've noticed is that sometimes job seekers don't realize that they really need to stay at their computer and at their desktop when they're doing the virtual event, because you only have a timed amount event. And if you all of a sudden come into the queue and you're in the chat and the recruiter is starting to chat with you and you're not there because you've decided to walk off someplace or go do something else, you know, you've just wasted that time for your interaction with the recruiter, but then you've also wasted their time. Also realize that in some virtual job fairs, we've been noticing a lot of our customers have also been using Zoom links to automatically do a video interview right away. So be prepared to be seen on video and be professionally dressed. Be in that mindset, because even though we're sitting behind a computer, I think it's getting professionally dressed and really, as Jamie was saying, preparing as this is an in-person event. It just puts you into that mindset. So we've had people prepare, we've had them participate. Allyson, what are some of the ways that you recommend candidates follow up from a virtual job fair?
Yeah, so my first and main recommendation following a virtual job fair is to follow the instructions of the recruiter if they give you any. For instance, I can easily point you to a position that we have open on our website, but if we don't have anything open at the time, I tend to ask for the person to send me their resume via email. That way I can reach back out to you with something that opens up in the future. If a recruiter asks you to reach out to them outside of the platform, please do it.
Jamie, what about you? What do you recommend that people do as a follow-up after a meeting within the job fair?
Well, as Allyson mentioned, absolutely follow the directions the recruiter has given you. But don't be afraid to give them a call, and don't be afraid to send them an email. I would say a good time frame to wait before you send that follow-up is about 24 hours, because in that first 24 hours, the recruiter is already overwhelmed. But you want to get your name in front of the recruiter multiple times, and it demonstrates your interest, and it also helps them just remember your name. So follow up, specify, refer back to something you talked about. You know, we talked about this role, and you mentioned that risk management framework was a skill you were looking for, and I have that skill. And don't be afraid to be specific to follow up, and then follow up again. A couple of follow-ups is absolutely okay. As mentioned before, if the recruiter has 100 or so candidates to go through, the reminders can actually be well received, because it reminds us that you're interested, and it demonstrates that you have a real interest in the role.
Amy, how about you? What has really stuck out in your mind as a job seeker who followed up really well? Didn't stalk you, but really followed up well.
Yeah, I would say first and foremost, go to LinkedIn and add them as soon as you get their first and last name and you know their company that they're with. I would go and find them on LinkedIn and add them on LinkedIn. I just think that's a really good applicant process when you get a connection with a recruiter, to add them on LinkedIn, because I share about every virtual job fair, tons of hiring events, everything that I'm hiring for, I do blast on LinkedIn and Twitter and everything for it. So, you know, follow them on everything that you can find them on, not Facebook, but all the professional sites. Go find them on those and follow them. The second thing I would do is to email them your resume, but before you email the resume, go to the job site and write down all the job numbers that you're interested in, or even take it a step further and go ahead and apply. So then when you email them, you say, I've applied for these positions. That is my favorite type of candidate, because I don't have to chase you down to apply ever. You've already done it. And it shows that you're willing to do anything that we need you to do to get the job. So that would be my number one recommendation. LinkedIn, email, and apply for all the positions you're interested in, and send those job numbers to the recruiter.
That sounds great. Well, ladies, you have provided some amazing information, some great ways for people to prepare and participate and follow up from the virtual job fair, and also shared your joy of living and working in Huntsville. So I look forward to seeing all of you on June 3rd at our virtual job fair. Thank you so much for your time today. Bye-bye.